what I'm freaking talking about. Oh, shit, fuck. There it is. What's up, guys? Hunter Sales here at the Dandridge Dock, going over this week's #FishJeffco fishing report, and we're also going to be previewing the Bill Dance Giant Bass Open that's out here this weekend, April 20th and 21st. Man, it's going to be an exciting weekend. The fish are going to be biting, and so this week's fishing report is going to be a little bit different than previous weeks. You know, instead of talking about how to catch the most fish, how to have a good time on the water, we're going to be talking about my 3 picks for how you're going to win this Bill Dance Giant Bass Open. So the goal is targeting one big fish. And one of these choices I'm going to give you may surprise you a little bit, and so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Obvious choice here for a big fish tournament in the spring. It's kind of been the craze in the bass fishing world lately. Is a glide bait. This is the Spro Shad, and I think this is the 180 size. I know that they do make a couple other sizes. That's the one that's most popular here in the United States. So that Spro Shad, I'm throwing on a 7.3 heavy rod with 20-pound fluorocarbon. Now, where I would be throwing that bait if I was fishing with it this weekend would be around boat docks, around any wood that's in the water, just really high percentage areas where one big fish could be hanging out, maybe starting to spawn or maybe staging to spawn. And so that Shad, you know, it's a really erratic, quick, darting glide bait back and forth. And so you can throw it up beside a dock and work it, you know, really quick and keep it in that strike zone for a long time. And man, the big fish, there's something about that bait they just can't stand. So I definitely think that bait has a really good chance of being one of those top baits this weekend. Along the same train of thought there is the Megabass MagDraft. You know, in the spring, you know, it's just a bite getter. That's my favorite color. I think it's whiteback shad. Just a really natural shad color bait. And I throw that on 17-pound InvizX, Seaguar InvizX on another 7.3 rod. And for that bait, though, I don't think that one will be, you could still throw it around your boat docks and around your wood, but I would throw that bank more on steep banks, you know, a 45-degree bank, a bluff bank. In my opinion, this week, I think down the lake is going to be key. And so being able to throw that MagDraft out there and let it sink kind of right out of sight and retrieve that bait, you know, 6 to 7 feet down, has a really high potential to get a big bite. Now this one is going to be the one that's going to surprise some people. And so this is the one that, you know, honestly, if I was going out trying to fish a tournament this time of year, this is probably what I would be throwing. And this is the Z-Man TRD. I know I talk about it almost every single week in these reports. So I'm throwing that on 8-pound Seaguar Tatsu to a 15-pound flash green braided line on a 7-foot medium rod. And the reason that bait is so good this time of year, especially on Douglas, is because those fish do spawn on some of that steeper stuff. And so with those fish spawning on the steeper stuff, you know, that Z-Man TRD really does a good job of being able to work it slow. And you know, those fish that are spawning will eat that bait. And so you'll just see your line swim off, you're able to reel into them, and you know, you don't lose fish once they get hooked. And so, you know, the number of 4.5-pound largemouth that I catch on that Z-Man TRD would really surprise you in the spring out on Douglas. Now, you're not going to catch a ton of fish that size. You're going to catch a lot of your males that are up, you know, 2-pounders, 2.5-pounders, but your big females will eat that bait if they're up on bed. And so with the weather being the way it is, the water is rising every day about 1/2 foot. It's really stable. There's pollen everywhere. So everything in nature, you're starting to see geese in pairs. You know, turkey are doing their deal. The fish are doing their deal too. And so that Z-Man TRD is just a great way to catch a spawning fish, you know, a big female that's laid up spawning. One other thing that I'll talk about is don't rule out the possibility of finding a big group of pre-spawners offshore. You know, somebody that wants to spend a lot of time behind their units. This time of year, there still is the potential to idle over the right school and, you know, to really be able to put a herding on some 4-pound fish. Now, Douglas, this time of year, I think that you should be able to get paid with a 3-pounder on most hours. But I still think it'll take, you know, almost a 6-pounder. I'd say a 580 to a 590 will probably win the event. And really, that's crazy because it can go anywhere. It can come from up in the river. It can come from down at the bottom end of the lake. But, you know, that's really the size fish that I would look, you know, to win this tournament. And so I hope you guys have a great day out on Douglas, fishing the Bill Dance Giant Bass Open and enjoying Jefferson County and all that we have to offer.